Hey everybody. Let me just put our agenda somewhere where everybody can see. Okay, so agenda today are we'll go around as we normally do to get updates from all the teams. And then we're gonna have a presentation by OCC led by Stefan on progress that they've been making on their CSOC. We talked about it, I think, many months ago and haven't really checked in any large way since then. So it'll be great to hear what's um, the progress. And then I think Jawad or maybe Elise will have a kind of much shorter update on what we've been up to. So with that, let me open up the participants window. I'm just gonna go around from I can keep this window to stay put. Go around from the different groups in the order in which they appear. Um, Alan, do you have any updates from the last month you want to share?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, unfortunately, Jimmy, he's here, but he's not here because he really has the best update from us. From my perspective, lots of boring operational stuff. I've been using the Gen3 Terraform code a lot. I have more feedback, which I will share. Um, but that's about it. Jimmy, however, has been hard at work on the Crow stuff and has gotten things to a pretty good point. It is out there if you go to just search for Gen3 Crow. You can find our repo. And Jawad, I know we owe you an update. We're long overdue on that. Apologies. We've both been distracted by lots of other things. But
Totally.
short, like I said, we're to the point where we're starting to build out the graphs now, and it's kind of coming together nicely. He's got all the core pieces to kind of get things set up, ready to deploy. So that's a pitiful update. He would have done a much better job, but it's really cool stuff. That's all I'll say.
Cool. Is Crow just kind of a research project still at this point, or where is it in terms of using it for your production
I
system?
mean, well, Crow is definitely a research project. Officially, Crow is not recommended for production use.
Okay.
So our goal has been and continues to be to try to get ahead of things because last we heard their goal was to have it ready by end of calendar year. And I've not seen an update since maybe very early summer about that goal. It could have shifted, but we're thinking of it as a 2026 thing. So we want to kind of be ready to go if and when it becomes available. And I know Jawad has expressed his interest, and we're trying to align things as we really want it to be like Gen3 admin and Gen3 Crow just work together out of the box. So
Right. Okay, thanks, Alan. Um, just going around, Bektimir or Luca, do you have any updates? Um,
Nothing major. We're still in the process of moving to Elm mostly from Docker automation. So we're mostly there right now
yeah,
from like a DevOps point of view.
sorry, you said you're almost there, or what was
No, I
the?
said that from a DevOps point of view, we're mostly still working to move our environment to Elm.
Okay. D where do you think you are in that process? Close, far?
I
Or-
think so. I've been working with Ed with that since hours on the default cloud automation. We had like extended it a little, so we just need to mm, finish porting over the few changes.
Okay, cool. Anything else?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
All right, and I forget who Bodiem is. I don't remember uh who that is or what team they're on. Wanna unmute and identify yourself if you don't mind. Um, Bodie.
In the chat, they said they're with Alan at Indiana University.
Oh,
that's
perfect.
Jimmy. Yeah, sorry, I thought he was gonna be here with me. He must be in his own room or at his desk.
I think I made the same mistake last time. I didn't remember. I'll try to remember that he's on your team next time, Alan. Okay. Claire or Carvin, do you want to give an update?
Yeah, sure. I think not much from us this time. We obviously had the big push on observability that Carvin shared last time. And currently we're with our, I guess, production Gen3, we're working to integrate REMS in that. So that's what we're doing currently. I don't know, Carvin, if you wanted to quickly mention anything else there.
As you said, we are working on RAMs. No more else. Thank you.
Great, thanks. And then Gordon.
Yeah.
Hi. Any updates?
Nothing major from our side this month for the HCDC project. We're still on track for the December go live. Disaster recovery work is in progress. And Nagasri has been working on the new Gen3 front-end framework for the Omics 3 project.
Cool. Is that
That's
a
pretty
like a
much it.
hard deadline for a launch in December, or is that a sort of internal soft deadline? Curious.
Yeah, it's an internal soft deadline. Then after that, we're probably gonna have like the kind of like public go live, like, once everything is validated. Yeah.
Cool, exciting. Thanks. All right. Other than OCC and CGIS, did I miss anyone? Okay, since Jawad, I assume will just give the update during the presentation, or did you have anything you wanted to share?
We can share that we've been working with the university to get Gen3 working on OpenShift, although still on a branch. It required a few changes to our Helm chart, just mostly around the security context, and there is a few changes we need to do to Hatchery as well to be able to spin up workspaces, but we have it working, and that's kind of cool. I didn't realize OpenShift had that strict requirements where like you're not even allowed to have a user like a user ID with 1,000 by default. Like you need to have a special security context policy or whatever they're called. I think they're called security context constraints. But yeah, I've been working with the university to basically be able to deploy Gen3 on-prem on their OpenShift infrastructure. So hoping to get the changes merged to Helm and added some documentation on how to deploy Gen3 on OpenShift using our Helm charts.
Cool,
And
yeah.
Joad, I'm sure you talk with Paul from our team as well, since we've been working on that as well. So if you need any extra help, we are able to participate with that, since we've been working trying to bring you Gen3 OpenShift as well.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I think Paul did reach out. Paul Graham, right? Yeah.
Murdoch.
Murdoch. Yeah. Yep. I think he reached out.
If you can like collaborate, or if you need any extra help, please feel free to reach out to Paul, since we're working on that as well.
Okay, yeah, perfect. I will do that.
Thanks.
Cool. And the context there is that this infrastructure allows for PHI, or like, so that's the one of the benefits of using this or of going down this path, which is sort of interesting for us since we don't on any of our current systems allow for that. Anything else to add for now?
I don't think there's too many major things. I'll just show off the infrastructure as code stuff at the end of this call. We've been making updates on that, and then yeah, the next step is basically having a way for new users to basically be able to bootstrap the entire thing from zero to full on AWS within minutes, hopefully. Yeah.
Nice. All right, cool. All right, then we'll pass baton on to Stefan. Great to hear what you guys have been up to.
All right. Okay, let me share my screen here. Okay. And Basically, we've been working with Crumware to work out sort of CSOC and focusing on also infrastructure as code here, as well as looking at a way to be able to meet our workflow. So we have a bunch of different data commons that are across multiple AWS accounts. And so basically we're looking at something that can handle that. So this is the general architecture of what we have going on here. The sort of core of what we're using is this tool called Rancher, which is open source. It's by SUSE. And what Rancher does is allow you to control multiple Kubernetes clusters. So what we have here is we've got a main AWS account that serves as the home for the Rancher instance. That controls Kubernetes instances on either the same AWS account or different AWS accounts. And all of these accounts, they've got a WAF in front of them that we can control. And then each separate data commons is going to have their own set of their own database, their own set of secrets stored for passwords and things like that. And then the key here is that we've got another tool called Argo, and I'm sure people know of Argo, or at least I know that it's mentioned in the Gen3 installation docs. And what Argo is basically a continuous deployment tool. And what Argo will do is it will look at this GitHub repository. So looking at this GitHub repository, you can update things about Gen3 and its surrounding environment. So if you update, your values.yaml in Gen3, Argo CD will notice that, go in, update Gen3, update the necessary components in your environment for that data commons, and it will be immediately live. So that is the overall architecture of this. So this, what we're using is we're using Terraform to create both this main AWS Rancher account as well as all of these data commons environments. So this, except for the GitHub repository, this whole structure is going to be created by Terraform. Now, the way it's been structured is that Crumware has their own Terraform plugin that they've created, and eventually that will be made open source. But for right now, what you do is you use that plugin in your own Terraform definitions. So in our case, for example, we'll put in, here's our AWS account, here's all of, here's the various ARNs and names of things that we'd like to call it. Here's the domain name, and it'll handle things like Route 53. Here's our WAF definitions, here's the IPs and stuff. And so here's the features that are in that plugin. And I have a GitHub URL here, but for right now, it's a private repository. I think it will be opened up in the future. So we have, it'll employ the entire infrastructure. So it'll make the resources, the Kubernetes clusters, the configurations, the Route 53, all of your IAM, your service accounts, everything like that. It supports development, testing, and production environments for each data commons. So you can have, as well as multi-common support. So you can have your different AWS accounts, and then inside each one, you could have, like, here's the dev branch, here's the QA, here's as many as you want there. It's going to be used Rancher. Having this plugin lets us focus on making sure we're doing security best practices that are consistent across each installation. It includes credential rotation. It uses Postgres. It'll support certificates, and it uses the load balancer and a sort of external DNS to keep everything up to date. And so here's sort of an example of how we have things set up. So this is actually code from Terraform code from our repository. We're calling it CSOC infra for infrastructure. And what this does is it uses the plugin referenced on the previous slide. So I don't know if you can see my mouse cursor, but on the left here, we have Argo CD Git repository. So that basically you can tell it where the Argo CD Git repository is. So it will create the Argo instance, which will then look at the repository you tell it to. OCC Gen3 dev, this is our local AWS profile. So the AWS credentials are on our the machine that is installing or running this Terraform. So that's the profile it will use to keep credentials or to look at credentials to actually log into AWS. You know, you've got things like pointing out what region you use, and then that's going to be referred in like the provider here. Most of this is boilerplate. So basically, there's just a certain number of sections that you have to define, and each one needs to be unique for the each commons. So we're using this naming convention of OCC Gen3 dev, and then rancher permissions for this module. And this uses the Crumware Gen3 AWS plugin, rancher management source as source, and it refers to our AWS provider. And this just sort of gives you a taste of like something that you need to define for each data commons. And so each data commons gets its own Terraform file here. So you notice this is called OCC Gen3 dev, and this is referring to a dev data commons that's in our Terraform. And so this Git repository, OCC infra, has all of these Terraform files in it. And on the right column, here's an example of like the Route 53 record. And so, you know, we point to our, you know, what is our desired domain? And basically you just need to recreate this file for every data commons that you need. And then just a little bit about Argo itself. Like I said, it'll look at this. So for us, it's an OCC CSOC deploy is the name of the repository. So it'll look at you know, files within that repository like fence.yaml, et cetera, and it will when those change, it'll change it in our Gen3 installation. So Argo maintains you know, other services as well as Gen3, so it maintains itself, of course. You've got certificate manager, external DNS, Jaeger and Loki Promptail. We've got monitoring and logging. I think that is partially implemented. I don't know if it's complete yet, but and then it'll also have a PG admin instance, so you can use that to access the database directly. And then just sort of a taste of how Argo is set up. So this is the OCC CSOC deploy repository, and so we have we set it up in this sort of structure. So the folder structure is kind of defines each data common. So we have one called dev and one called prod, and these are sort of like our initial test repositories. And this wind tunnel one is the one that I've been working on in order to test out this Terraform and Argo structure. And basically what you do is once you get this into production, we'd add all of our data commons into this folder structure. So you'd have, I don't know which commons. So you have commons 1, commons 2, or, you know, I'm not sure which ones we'd actually be adding. So I don't want to say any names, but inside each folder though is you have deployments. And so this is going to have the deployment definitions, and if you have multiple data commons in here, it's going to have configuration files that point Argo in the right direction. And the direction here is this Gen3 folder and this platform folder. So Gen3 is all of our Gen3 data commons in here. So you've got the standard Gen3 the standard Gen3 configuration files in here that will define the installation. And then you could have another data commons in here as well. And then platform is going to be all of the surrounding infrastructure around it that, will define things like, your PG admin, your external DNS. And for now, all you really have to worry about with this is providing the correct resource identification or the ARNs from AWS in these places. Some future work is that it's going to Terraform will automatically update these files. And to give you an idea of how it's connected to the Terraform config, so here is on the right in this sort of beige square is a place in the Terraform code that directly references these folders, and will tell Argo where to look. And so here is sort of a screenshot. This is Rancher. So you'll notice on the right we have two environments set up. So we've got a dev environment, and then OWV is OCC Wind Tunnel. I'm not sure what the V is there for, but this is sort of an idea of what you can see. And it's basically like having sort of, it's like, I don't know if you've ever used Kubernetes and you use it in the command line, this is like having a kube control at your sort of fingertips for this cluster, and then you can click into the next one, look at that cluster. And of course, Rancher is going to be behind OAuth. So you can have security that way. You can limit it to IP addresses. You can limit it to, whatever VPN you have, as well as this being, password protected. And it also uses SSO. And then, so here's another picture of the cluster. Here's sort of the overview of what we got. There's some things that aren't quite right in Wind Tunnel because I'm still setting it up and still trying to figure this out. And this will show you like a list of services that is in the Wind Tunnel thing. So here you've got all your Gen3 services as normal. And I should point out that it does, when installing Gen3, it does make use of the Gen3 Helm chart in order to use that. So it refers directly to the work that's been done to create that Helm chart, to create this Kubernetes environment. Here's an example of Argo, and this is everything that Argo can see in this. This is referring specifically to the one that's in Wind Tunnel. So all of these services seem to be healthy except for the Wind Tunnel one, and there's something wrong with the sync here. So that tells me that there's something I need to go in and fix, which I will eventually, and this will give me more detail into what's going on. And this is also another look at the Kubernetes, and so it'll give you sort of a health update of all of these different deployments. And what I'm going to do now is I can show you the live sort of feed of all of these tools. So this is the Rancher instance here, and so this will show you all, the sort of big overview here. We have 3 nodes in across all of these. Sorry, this is Rancher itself, rather. So Rancher itself is using 3 nodes, and it's got all these pods. This is the Gen3 dev cluster, and this is live right now. This is what's at the MCC 2dp.occ. I think it's Planet. Could be the live one too. But you have, you could just take a look at all of these different things going on, and this really helps troubleshooting if you need to. And then you can look at all the different storage, and this is the Wind Tunnel. This is the screenshot from before. And so I can go over any of this in a bit if you guys want to look at the live application. And this is, if you can see at the URL at the top here, we've got the Argo CD at Wind Tunnel. And so you can log in directly here to get sort of a bird's eye view of all these services. You can make sure they're in sync. You can refresh code. If so, this polls GitHub like every 3 minutes or so or something. So you can refresh it if you need to speed things up or get something put out immediately. And yeah, it offers a lot of really cool features as well. So going back to the presentation. So here's the benefits of using this. So our paradigm is that we have a lot of different data commons across AWS accounts, and that's going to be really important to maintain. And having it in a single place with Rancher is super helpful. So now we can look at that instead of having to deal with all kinds of Kubernetes configs or having to log into AWS different AWS accounts back again. That'll be a big help. Like I said, having it in a single plugin makes sure that we can apply the same best security practice across every data commons uniformly. And same thing with the WAF. So having WAF in a Terraform, and as you see also in Gen3 Terraform, having that WAF in as infrastructure as code is super helpful in making sure that you have your access control. You've got control over it. It reduces the complexity, like I said, with Rancher. The Argo CD is built into the Terraform process. So the Argo CD is part of that setup. So you don't have to set up Argo CD separately. It becomes part of the infrastructure itself. It uses the existing Gen3 Helm charts, and it's also going to have logging and monitoring built into each Commons environment. I think this is still under development, but so I'm not quite sure of the timeline with logging and monitoring, but that'll give also another central location you can go to in order to check all that stuff out in administering data commons. Now, there are a couple concerns, and the first one, I'm sure you guys have been thinking it, that this does cover similar ground as Gen3 Terraform. And so the big difference is that with ours, one repository that you have can go to multiple AWS repositories. And so your infrastructure as code is going to define a whole host of data commons ecosystems, which is, for us, is really important, not just because we have a lot of data commons, but also because we're going to have data meshes, and we do have data meshes. And so having access to both the data mesh and the data commons that the data mesh refers to is going to be super important. And Rancher is going to make that is going to be an excellent tool in handling that and handling any kind of technical issues that go wrong. And also that the Argo CD is built into this deployment. So that's what sort of distinguishes it. But even though it covers similar ground, I think both plugins can kind of like also learn from each other if the teams want to take a look at. And I'm sure actually, I actually don't know if the Crumware team. I mean, I've looked at Gen3 Terraform, but I'm not sure if the Crumware team has. But this is kind of like a sort of place where we could share information. And then the other downside is that this only works with AWS. So using Terraform, of course, does not limit us to AWS, but it requires some development work to make it work with Azure or GCP or other cloud providers. So those are concerns. And then we have any future directions. The Terraform module will be made open source and public. We're going to have user and system-based logging and monitoring that'll be included soon. disaster recovery, OAuth SSO for rancher administration, and that's going to be, I think, right now it uses it has GitHub SSO, but I think we're going to add Google. We've got more network observability. They're going to use OpenTelemetry to do so. They're going to add a layer 7 firewall and container security, and also researcher authentication services into this. And that is it for my presentation. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be more than happy to field them.
Thanks, Stefan. Turn over to the group for questions.
I think you might have mentioned it, but do you guys already have Terraform for Google Cloud or Azure, or do you need to develop that as well?
I don't know if it's in, I don't know if it's in our timeline, because I don't know if we're going, I can't say like if we have plans to move to Azure or Google Cloud, or additionally include Google Cloud or Azure. I don't know about them. So as far as I know, we're only using AWS. Oh, and also let me show off the fact that this is up and running. This is a copy of VPODC, of course, without the data. It's just the skeleton of the Gen3 site. And so it's successfully copied, but it's running on wind tunnel. So this is a successful deployment of the Terraform.
Nice. That's cool.
Javad, just to add to that, I don't think we have plans at the moment to establish the Azure or Google part of it, but it might change.
Gotcha. I feel like Chromeware might have deployed to Google before, but they might not have used Terraform. Yeah.
I don't know.
I do know that the upgrade would be like non-trivial. Like it's not as simple as just like pointing it to Google. So
Yeah. I think there is a group in Netherlands that is running it on Google Cloud, but they
Okay.
didn't use Terraform to spin it up.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, the Helm charts should work. It's just like the
Yeah.
rest of the infrastructure.
Yeah, that's the whole part of everything else. That actually like having that Gen3 Helm charts like existing is a huge benefit. And like we just use those instead of trying to spin up Gen3 on our own.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, Stefan, sorry, any timelines for opening these or sharing them? We'd love to see it. I'm not rushing you, just curious.
I don't know the timelines. That's a Donna question.
I think it will take at least till the end of the year before we're reaching that phase, Michael, if not a little further. The next 6 months have been planned out with Chromeware, and there's a lot of QA work in that. And then once we pass that, it's time.
Okay.
We'll let you know. We'll keep the group posted on the
Yeah,
ramp.
I'm part of my role in this is QA, which is what this site on your screen is. This took a good amount of QA work to actually get running.
Yeah. You anticipated some of my questions in your final slide there about, yeah, how we can make sure we're working together or learning from each other. I know there's a lot of differences, but yeah, I just want to make sure that we keep, and I guess having you present is a good step for that. And maybe, I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, Donna. I hate to get into this area, but like I don't know if like we want to like let some Gen3 developers that are working on Gen3 Terraform like look at Chromeware stuff before it goes public. I don't know what that would entail in terms of contract.
And
It could get messy, but I don't know.
yeah, that does sound like a great idea. Maybe Michael, we should talk about that offline.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do that. It'd be great. But totally understand there's constraints there. So yeah, that was the big question. And then, yeah, I think that was just to make sure we're helping each other out as much as we can, and producing these kind of similar, but as you pointed out, some there's some key differences systems.
Yeah.
Cool. Other questions from the attendees? Cool. Well, thanks a lot, Stefan and Donna. It's great to hear where things are and all the progress you've made.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. All right, Jawad or Elise, do you want to give updates on some changes to the CSOC portal?
Yep, I can do that. Elise, I'm not sure if she was able to join today. She had a thing come up. But yeah, I can.
I just wasn't
Yeah.
able to get up and ready.
All right. Hi, Elise. I didn't see you.
Hey, no worries.
Okay, let's see. What do I have here? Yep, I can share my screen and go over some of these changes that we've been working on. And yeah, let me just make sure I share the right window. There we go. All right, let me know when you guys see the CSOC portal.
Seen.
Perfect. All right, so we've sort of been working on this wizard to basically deploy Terraform. The screen that you're seeing here is the main screen that I want users to see when they basically, or one of the main screens when they want to bootstrap the CSOC itself as well as spinning off like other, I guess, spokes from this hub or this central model, basically. So what we have here is we have two ways of running the Terraform. So if you're running it locally from your computer, you have no Kubernetes set up on your computer, all we require is a Docker. The idea is that you just run this entire thing as a Docker compose. But yeah, in Docker mode, it will use a temporary directory on your host or on your laptop, where it will cache stuff like Terraform modules and providers, and basically the plan files between each step. When running in Docker mode, it's basically using the credentials that you've set up in your home directory /AWS. Although in the future, we might be helpful with like setting up these credentials as well, where you provide us with either a key or something in addition to using these local credentials. Yeah. So, but if you were running it in a Kubernetes pod, then in the next steps, you can basically configure the credentials you want to use as well. In this demo, I will be trying to use the Docker mode, and then it'll just use whatever credentials I have set up. Here we have a UI where you can input different parameters. Although this is very specific to our Terraform. We are trying to generalize this as well, which I will get back to in a second, where basically you would get a text area input where you can override any variables. For now though, what we're doing is basically taking whatever we expose as the main variables, basically the minimum things that we really need in order to deploy a Gen3 Terraform. And these might change. We might be able to even get it lower or add a few more things. There are a few optional variables as well that we've trying to include here. And then obviously the tagging for all of the resources that get set up by Terraform. Cool. Then the last step that is in here, although I've cheated a little bit, I can refresh so that we get a clean slate. But yeah, this last step is where basically a lot of the cool stuff happens. So although you can see previous runs and everything from here, this is a completely stateless system, does not have a database. All of these are basically talking to the Docker APIs running on your host. So, and if you were running in Kubernetes mode, these would be all of the different pods that basically has executed with all of the labels that we have. But the idea is that you can basically do all of the different Terraform operations from here. Although once we have it all the way correct, we should be able to simplify it even further. But like this would be running a Terraform init, and you should see that the new task gets spawned, and then it's running, and then once the logs are available, they get shown in this UI as well. So the Terraform init is basically what pulls all of the Terraform modules and the providers and everything. So yeah. And then you also have a validate function here as well, just to validate if my variables are correct and my AWS stuff is working correctly. That also works. And then you can see like all of your previous executions as well. Plan, this one is interesting. So this basically goes in, checks your AWS infrastructure against your Terraform state file. And if there are any changes, this would tell you like, I need to add this thing and I need to change that, and then I need to destroy this. So that's a good one to run before you run it. Although, if you can see here, there's 8,000 lines. So there are different ways of making sense of all of this as well, which we use. I think it's called TF Summarize. Let me see. TF Summarizer that I'm planning to include in the Docker image since this is running inside Docker. But basically the idea, yeah, let's look at the screenshots because these demos are, but we would get an output like this where you would easily at a glance be able to tell like what it's trying to add, change, delete, and update instead of having to parse this in your brain. And there are a few like color things that we're not showing, that not parsing, but yeah, that also needs to be done. And obviously you can destroy and apply. Some other things that we're also going to be working on is making sure that the state of this Terraform is persisted into an S3 bucket, because that's the best way to do it, and that's how we usually run this. And that's going to be part of the whole bootstrap step, basically. So the idea is that when you run the CSOC portal in bootstrap mode, where a user would start basically locally on their laptop, run this, and this would be the narrowed down UI that they would see. They wouldn't see a lot of these other things that are here, but basically just a way to bootstrap CSOC itself into the cloud. So we've sort of been planning out this feature, but then once CSOC itself is bootstrapped, you can go to csoc.yourdomain.com using a WAF like Stefan just talked about with an IP allow list. And then from here, you can basically spin up either inside the same cluster or into a separate AWS account, similar to how Stefan and OCC were doing it, but spin up one or more Gen3 instances end to end. Ideally also with the whole GitOps thing. But right now we're focusing on just getting these different EKS clusters bootstrapped through this UI. Yeah. Yeah, and we've still managed to not have a database, which is kind of cool because that adds overhead, and you can still run this without a database, which was kind of cool, I think. So it's still fully stateless, but it reads from Docker. Yeah. Anyway, that was the short presentation that we had for today, and hopefully we have more things next week. There is a branch for this, I think, in the Gen3 admin. So if you are excited to try this out, I believe it's called TFUI. So if you want to try this out, there's the branch, and then this is how you can deploy Terraform through the CSOC portal already today. Although there will be changes coming though.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty good update. And like Jawad said, the next step we're working on is basically to bring up this UI, just the Terraform UI, to bootstrap CSOC itself. So that's kind of the next part, is like a Docker Compose file with some mock auth enabled.
Cool. Anything else, guys?
I don't think so. Maybe I showed this the last time, but like the main page, I can just reiterate, re-show since we're all here. The main page, like the home page, once you've selected an environment. So let's say if I select my my dev environment, it now automatically looks for logs and stuff, although now I'm not connected to the VPN, so it won't show us, but I can do that relatively quickly. 1 second. It queries like Loki and Grafana and gets these logs live. So hopefully this should work. Yeah, although there are no logs for my environment because it's not up. But yeah, you should be able to see some information about your commons and look at different events that were happening, similar to how Rancher was showing. So you should be able to see like, oh, something's wrong in my namespace. Right now, my dev environment is shut off. And that's probably why a lot of these errors are coming up. But yeah.
Any questions for Jawad and Elise from folks?
I just want to know how soon will this be production ready?
That's a good question. Are you thinking about running like Terraform and like other things from the CSOC portal?
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm pretty much interested on the Gen3 admin because I think it's pretty cool. I think it will
Yeah,
simplify a lot of
we have deployed it
day-to-day
internally, and
operation.
then I think the next steps on our end is to basically kick off a security review just so that we can have security take a look at our code and scan it and try to break it. And then once we have that, I think we can finally say that it's production ready, although it is running internally for our dev environments, basically in AWS accounts, but not the Terraform portion, just the Kubernetes dashboards and the Argo. I don't know if I showed off the Argo integration before as well, but there is like you can look at the different apps, like either they're deployed via Helm or they're deployed via Argo. And then if they are deployed via Argo, so if I look up my dev environment again, I can go in here and I can also like sync the app, which would wake it up and yeah. And I think I talked about it a few CSOCs ago, but like this is giving you the entire YAML or the JSON basically for all of that's happening. So we should be able to show that similar type of resource tree as Argo was showing in here or in some other view, basically.
Yeah.
I think hitting this button, yeah, here you can see like all of what the Argo API is basically returning, although we're not doing anything with this data yet. But we could parse it and build out like a beautiful view so you can see like what's each object within your Argo CD deployment is doing and what the status of it is and if it's like out of sync or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, to deploy this, I think it's only just a security review pending, and then fix whatever comes up from there. But we have it deployed with Keycloak in our environment, and I think those should also be included here under the Helm charts. So you should be able to deploy your own Keycloak as well, if you want to use Keycloak. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other questions for Jawad and Elise? Okay, thanks, guys. We have like 8 minutes left. Do I have any volunteers for presenting at next month's meeting? Just make sure it's not like on Thanksgiving. It's the day before Thanksgiving. Okay. Well, whether it's on the 26th, we might not hold that one since I think a lot of people will be on vacation. But let's just say for the next meeting, are there any thoughts on or volunteers or ideas for what we should cover?
Um, I I seem to have some issues previously trying to share my video originally. I was gonna talk about the Gen 3 Crow. Jimmy, here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, you want to cover that at the next meeting and give an update on Crow?
On the next meeting or now? I thought you were talking about an extra 8
We have
minutes.
5 minutes left. So
Okay,
we'll do the next meeting.
next meeting then.
Okay, all right, yeah, that will give you some time so that we can ask
right.
questions. Perfect.
Could I also suggest, just in thinking ahead, I presume the December meeting would fall like inconveniently close to,
Oh, that's true. That will
Other
also yeah, so maybe we need to move.
maybe split the difference and just position it sometime like early December.
It's a good idea.
Just a thought.
Thanks for thinking ahead, Alan. I hadn't made that leap yet, that the next one would also, yeah, be the end of December. So,
Mhm.
okay. I'll
We
probably
can
send
meet
out
on
a,
Thanksgiving and Christmas.
yeah. I'll probably send out a doodle poll or something then to find a time for folks. All right. Well, everyone is free to send me ideas for the next meeting. If they have anything that they're working on and want to show off or any I don't know, any topics for discussion. Um,
Would a-
anything else? Oh,
Would a
go ahead.
SaaS version of the CSOC make sense to people where you don't even need to host it yourself, but you can spin up your own like Gen 3 from something that we are hosting potentially? I don't know. That could be interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I guess the logical next step is that we'd host the whole thing, like, you know, the commons as well as the CSOC.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, you could have a self-serve model for the researchers to basically yeah.
I mean, I think that's an interesting idea. I don't know if we've talked about, yeah, having like a central or research IT organization being in a position to do something like that. I don't know. Maybe Alan, you have some insight into that since I think that's kind of where you sit. Your org
Yep.
is research
Absolutely.
IT. Yeah.
I absolutely see a need for that. And I mean, I know I've met institutions that would just say, we're never gonna run this ourselves. In one case, they don't have the infrastructure, they don't have the ability to do it. And so, having somebody do it for them, and I know, I thought that was what some other groups did already, but. Yeah, I think there is a model there, so. Could be an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into that. In terms of. Like you said, who owns what? Am I gonna give you the keys to my account and then you'll manage stuff in my account, so I still have control, or are you just gonna do the whole thing for me? So here's my data, but it's in your account, you know?
Yeah.
Well, it's a big, complicated discussion. I'm not quite sure where to begin, but yeah, maybe we could have some discussion along those lines about how that could work.
At the very least, the infrastructure work and the Helm work will make that task easier.
Yeah, for sure. And then we can also like think it one step ahead, like when we're thinking about like running these commons, and then you could have like shared infrastructure as well between different commons where like there is one Aurora host, but with a lot of different databases. But like, I don't know, it would be an interesting 2026 project, I think. And then for like different cost and yeah, other reasons you could have like shared layers, but still have um, um, isolation and different comments. I don't know. I think we would definitely need Clint and security team's input here as well. And then, yeah, anyway.
Okay. All right. It's a cool idea. We'll pick that up at the next meeting or at another meeting. All right. Anything else that anybody has they want to touch on today? Okay, cool. All right. Well, thanks again, Stefan and Donna, and then also Jawad and Elise. I'll send out something soon about rescheduling the next meeting. All right. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.